So showing your best self at work or in an interview is essential, and that can be done in multiple ways, but communication is one of the most essential things if you're thinking about how people perceive you and the picture that you're trying to portray to others. So today we're going to discuss communication and some of the things that you can start applying to communicate in a way that your employer wants to listen to you, that other people want to listen to you, and if you're applying for a job, know the things that they're going to ask from you and how to answer the questions in the best way possible to increase your chances of getting that job. So let's begin. As a young graduate, I remember finishing university and being so excited about what it was coming next and finding my dream job. Sure enough, within weeks, I've got through multiple interview processes and I've landed the job of my dreams, being a barista at Costa.
Here is your coffee, Abby.
Thank you. Did you get sugar in it this time?
I hate coffee. Yeah, the sugar's in it.
Sugar's in it.
Then I also worked as a chef, as a waiter, as a food and beverage assistant, as a receptionist. And you can pretty much say at this point that I can open my own hotel or at least a tiny coffee shop because I know everything that's happening both at the front and in the back of the house. After doing that for a few months, years, I finally managed to land my first graduate job at an executive search firm, and after 5 dreadful months I finally quit because I absolutely hated it, and I moved into a new role for a talent management consulting firm here in London, which was amazing, and I really loved what I was doing. So at this point you might be wondering, why am I telling you this story, besides just bragging about my super exciting past and my crazy barista skills? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. So first of all, I've been through the process of applying for multiple jobs. I know how hard and how much struggle it is to get something new, but at the same time I've also been in the position in which I created recruitment processes for so many organizations, which means that I have the view on both sides on the things that you should be focusing on if you're applying for a job, but also internally if you're trying to develop in your career. So before discussing communication, there's a couple of things that you should keep in mind. I covered them in another video in much more detail, which you can find up there. Those things are understanding what is a competency, how a competency is generally measured by employees, and then what are the criteria that sit under a competency. So very briefly, a competency represents the underlying characteristics of a person that help them perform better in a specific role. And when you're thinking about the level of proficiency, most competencies tend to be organized in some kind of a framework which makes them a bit more structured and allows employers to measure the performance of their employees. Very simply, it goes from pretty much not being very good at that competency to being absolutely amazing at that competency. So communication is generally defined as the ability to engage with both internal and external audiences and be able to communicate in a clear, appropriate, and effective way. So when it comes to communication, what are some of the criteria and how can you prepare for that in the most efficient way? So the very first thing is making sure that your ideas are communicated clearly. That means that you leave no doubt about your opinion and the people in front of you know exactly what you're talking about. A lot of times when you tend to be nervous, you might start speaking quicker and it's harder for the person in front of you to understand exactly what you're trying to say. So make sure that you take your time, get composed, keep good eye contact, and communicate your idea as clearly as possible. Second, good eye contact and posture. Speak with clarity and focus on the person in front of you. Don't rush and give the person in front of you your full attention. The best way to master this is by starting with your friends, your family, then move on and start doing this with acquaintances. And eventually, if you start building a bit more experience, you can start doing it at work and in interviews. And you'll be surprised of how much of a difference it makes when someone feels that you're giving them your full attention. And talking about full attention, the third thing is active listening. And to repeat myself, give the person in front of you your full attention. Make them feel special. When someone speaks to you, don't think about what you're gonna have for lunch or for dinner, or before they even finish saying their sentence, you already have a response because you've been thinking through it in advance. Make sure you pay attention to every single word they say, and then take your time and respond appropriately. Number 4, learn to use analogies and humor in order to make your stories more compelling and interesting and get people more captivated in what you have to say. On top of it, spend some time asking for their opinion and making sure they understand what you're talking about. Number 5, learn to stand your ground. Be confident, and if you're talking about something, don't get discouraged if a person doesn't show excitement for what you have to say or dismisses your idea completely. To give you an example, it's probably everyone's worst nightmare that you're in an interview and you're trying to make a point and you can see that the interviewer is not really agreeing with it. That is your moment to ask a question and show them your thought process, because that will enable them to see how you are thinking about things, which is something very, very important. And it will build your trust and confidence in you, because it would show you have substance to what you're saying and you're not just saying things for the sake of it. Number 6, gain others' trust. In order to gain someone's trust, you need to show competence. You need to show that you know what you're talking about and communicate that in a confident manner. So what you want to do is pick a topic that you feel comfortable talking about and focus specifically on that. Try not to cover everything about everything. Even within the topic that you feel very comfortable talking about, highlight the main things and then ask for questions. That's the moment where you show how competent you are and how much more you know about that specific topic, so you don't have to repeat information. You can actually show the depth of your knowledge. Number 7, utilizing speed, tonality, and pause. You can utilize speed and tonality to convey more emotion and create more impact on the things that you have to say. And when you think about pause, is learning to be comfortable with silence. If someone doesn't say anything for 1 or 2 seconds, that's not a bad thing. Pausing and being comfortable with silence is a very, very powerful thing when you're trying to emphasize a point. And the last 2 points, paying attention to the people in the room, making sure that everyone gets a bit of attention, making sure that everyone's engaged. What you'll notice is that most of the times, not everyone's gonna be engaged with what you're saying. Give that person an extra bit of attention and engage them as well. Because a lot of times what it takes is just changing the opinion of one person to just change the vibe of the whole room. And the very last thing is utilizing multiple communication channels. This is something that probably applies a lot for office work and consulting jobs. A lot of times, email is king for absolutely everything. What's important is to understand what everyone's preferred way of communicating is and utilizing that. I'm a big advocate of utilizing anything that takes the shortest amount of time, especially when you're at work. If you build a good relationship with them, you might understand that they just prefer a short text with the update rather than a 5-paragraph email that they're not gonna read and just skim through. Mastering all these things will take time, so don't try focusing on all of them at the same time. Take one point, focus on it until you feel you nailed it, and then move on to the next one. Apply the things that we've discussed here today in your interviews, and I'm sure you're gonna smash them. Exactly the same way you smashed the like button for this video. In the next couple of videos, I'll break down another 2 essential skills, which are problem solving and learning and development. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and seeing you on the next one.